Hello, I'm Jenefer, I'm the founder of Silk Helix, and today I'm answering one of the common questions I'm asked, which is what do we even put in a personnel file? Okay, so firstly, a personnel file today is not likely to look like a cardboard file that you're holding in a filing cabinet. It's not as obvious. It may well be a file that you've got on a drive, that you've got an employee files drive folder, you put everyone's files in there. You may be using software. And software is brilliant because it does prompt you to put things in the right place, makes it easier to retrieve data. We use Breathe HR for our software. We encourage our clients to use it because it is so useful in terms of prompting you to make sure that you've got all of the right things. But if you're not using software or you're not sure what you need to be storing, I'm going to go through it today in this video. So fundamentally, your personnel file is a collection of all the data, all the information, every communication that you have with the individual whilst they work for you. So the starting point is going to be their name, date of birth, address, bank details, of course, so that you've got those records to be able to operate the contract. You probably want emergency contact details as well, just so that you've got somebody you can contact should this person fall ill or something go wrong whilst they're at work. When they first start working for you, you're going to be putting in their recruitment details. So if you've collected a CV from them, any notes from the interview process may well go in there. Any tests that you've done as part of the recruitment process may also go in the personnel file. Then there's some essentials. So for example, you need to make sure that you check their right to work in the UK. I'll put a link to an article detailing how you do that in the description below. But you'll need to make sure that that evidence is on their personnel file. That's going to be a really crucial one. That could save you quite a significant fine. Make sure that you've got that on there. You'll also want a copy of their employment contract, ideally one that they've signed. Again, I'll put a link to a video if you have issues with getting one signed. But make sure that you've got a copy of the employment contract on there in case you need to refer back to it if there's any issues later on down the line. You'll then want records of absence, so holiday, what they've taken, what they're entitled to, sickness, what days they've taken, what the reason for the absence was, any self-certificate forms or doctor certificates. You'll want all of those on file too, so you can go back and look at them. And this is where software can be really useful, because going back and looking for trends, looking at how much absence someone's had can be quite challenging. Software can take that away, it can do all of that for you. It can also make applying for a holiday much easier. So if you've got paper-based systems, people are putting in holiday forms, or maybe they're sending you messages asking for holiday, keeping a track of all those records can be really challenging. With software, most of them now will have an app or a way that somebody can log in and request their holiday. The manager can then either accept or decline it. The record is created. It's all done as one process. And that's where software can be really useful. As I say, we use Breathe HR, and I've put a link in the description below. You'll then, as employment goes on, you'll be building up other records. So, for example, performance reviews, making sure that you've got records of expectations set, feedback, discussions, one-to-one meetings, notes, all of that can go into the personnel file. If they've had pay rises, promotions, things like that, you'll make sure there's a record there. If you've sent them out on training and you've got them to sign a training agreement, make sure that goes in there. If there's any disciplinaries or grievances, most people don't have these, but if there are, again, any records of that, you'll want those on the file as well. So the file is just building up a record of what's happening, communications that you've got, and anything you've sent out to them, making sure that you've got that stored on there, because you never know if you'll need to look back at it and check on it. And some records you may find are in a payroll system rather than the personnel file. So, for example, hours worked and what they were paid for that for minimum wage purposes may well just be stored in your payroll system. And don't forget, you've got to make sure that what you're holding, you've got a lawful reason to hold that. You've got GDPR compliance, making sure that you're storing it correctly, that you're getting consent where you need to, but also that you're not relying on consent for data that you need to collect for the purposes of operating the contract. So for example, bank details, you need to have those details to be able to operate the contract. You don't necessarily need consent. So making sure that you know what you're holding, why you're holding it, what your lawful reason for holding that data is, so that you've got GDPR compliance. And again, HR softwares can be really useful for this, making sure that your storage is secure and that your data is appropriately backed up. So that's it, that's your personnel files. Don't make it overly complicated. And if you've got any questions or comments, stick them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer every single one. And if you like my videos, find them useful, hit subscribe and the notification bell so you don't miss a single one.